Hi everyone! I'm so excited to share my free crochet-along this weekend. We're going to be making this bitty bunny, and you can find all of the instructions listed on my blog, stuckonucrochet.com, but I thought that I would also film myself as I make my bitty bunny this weekend. So here you can see I've made this one up in 100% cotton. This is originally how the bitty buddies were designed. To be made with cotton, and you could make them rattles. This has a rattle in the head, or you could put teether toys on them, or you can add a chain and make a binky buddy. So that's how they were originally designed, but with the popularity of plush yarn, I have started trying them out in some of the bulkier weight yarns. So I've made them before in Parfait Chunky, and it works up really nice. It's very soft. And this weekend, I'm really excited because I have been wanting to try this Big Twist Baby Bear, and my order arrived yesterday, so I'm going to make mine up in Big Twist Baby Bear this weekend. So we'll see how it goes. The plush yarns turn out a little bit larger than the cotton yarn. Obviously, it's a little bit bigger, but it still works up nicely. I will say, personally, I have not had good luck with trying super bulky yarns like Bernat Blanket. For me, the baubles just are too close together. I would like to hopefully at some point design a bulkier bauble buddy pattern, but I just haven't gotten that far yet. So you can try it if you like, but for me, I like to just stick with the size 4 yarn, or something that's on the thinner side. Like this Big Twist says that it's a size 6, and so does Parfait Chunky, but I really consider it to be more like a size 5. So let's get started. If you're making it in cotton, then you're going to need a 2.75 millimeter hook and a 4 millimeter. If you're going to do it in plush, you're going to need a 4 millimeter and a 5 millimeter. So I'm going to make mine in plush. If you'd like to follow along with the pattern, like I said, it is posted on my blog, or the PDF is also available on Etsy or Ravelry. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is make the ears. So I've already made one ear just so that you can see what it's going to look like. So we're going to start at the bottom, and then we'll work our way up. So if you're using a plush weight yarn, you're going to grab your 4 millimeter hook. And if you're using a size 4 yarn, then you're going to use the 2.75 millimeter hook. So I'll show you something with plush yarn. If you have trouble making a magic circle, a lot of times with the plush yarn, it breaks. You can just make a slip knot, just like that. And then you can chain 2, and then work your first round of stitches into that first chain. So if you have trouble with your magic ring, then that's a good alternative. I usually make a magic ring, but with Parfait Chunky in particular, it always breaks on me. I have a really, really hard time making a magic ring with that type of yarn. So this baby bear seems to work up pretty nicely, so I'm going to make my magic ring with this one, and then I'll pull that tight. And the first thing I'm going to do is put 6 single crochets into the magic circle. All right, then I'll pull my magic ring tight. And then in round 2, I'm going to put 2 single crochet stitches into each stitch around. So I'm going to go from 6 stitches in the round to 12 stitches in the round. With the bulkier yarn, it's a little hard to see your stitches, so I like to count to make sure that I'm going into the right spot. You can also use stitch markers if you'd like. I don't typically use them. They just kind of get in the way for me, but I know there's a lot of people that do like to use them. So again, I'm just putting 2 stitches into each stitch around. It's very overcast today, so hopefully you'll be able to see this video okay. All right, so that finishes round 2, and I have 12 stitches at the end of round 2. So now for rounds 3, 4, and 5, you're just gonna do 3 rounds of single crochet in each stitch. So I like to just count to the total number of stitches. So for 3 rounds, that'll be 36 stitches. So we'll go ahead and do that now. All right, so I've got 36 stitches there. All right, so now we've finished round 5, and in round 6, we're going to do some decrease stitches. So if you'd like to do an invisible decrease, this helps minimize the appearance of the decrease stitch. It's something that's often used in amigurumi. So the way to do that is you're going to enter your hook under the front loop only of the first stitch, and then you'll enter your hook under the front loop only of the second stitch. Then draw up a loop, yarn over, and pull through the loops on the hook. So you can use that for the ears if you'd like. You don't have to if it's not what you're used to. But you're going to do 1 decrease stitch followed by 2 single crochet stitches, and we'll do that 3 times. So to finish this round, we will end with 9 stitches since we made 3 decrease stitches as we went around. All right, so you'll finish round 6 having gone from 12 stitches in round 5 to 9 stitches in round 6. So now we have round 7 to 16. That's 10 rounds total. And you're just going to put a single crochet into each stitch around. So that's going to be 90 stitches total if you like to think that way. If you prefer to stop after each round, then you can use a stitch marker or a piece of string to mark off your rounds, but I'm just going to go ahead here and count to 90 stitches. Okay, there I have finished my 90 stitches. So you can see the ear gets a little bit thinner as you go up with the decreased stitches. So we've got 2 rounds left here. We're just going to decrease one more time, and then we're going to tie off or close off the top of the ear. So we'll do one of those decreased stitches, and then we're going to do 7 single crochet stitches. All right, and that should give us 8 stitches to finish that round. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to crochet through both sides of the ear. And the reason for this is we are going to close off the top of the ear so that then we have a flat edge when we're trying to sew it onto the top of the head. So in order to do that, you're going to take your hook and insert it into a stitch and then go through to the other side, pinch that top of the ear, go through to the other side, and then you'll do a single crochet stitch. And you're going to do 4 single crochet stitches to make it across to the other side of the ear. All right, and then once you've done that, you can cut your yarn. You do want to leave a little bit of a tail because you're going to be sewing the ears to the top of the head. So leave a bit of a tail and you can tie that yarn off. Tie this one off too. And then you should have your 2 ears finished. You're not stuffing, I forgot to say, you're not stuffing the inside of the ears. You don't really need to. They just kind of hang off to the side. And if they were stuffed, then they probably would go out pretty far. So I just leave them unstuffed. So now that you're finished with those ears, you can set those off to the side. And then we will move on to the next piece. So the other parts that we're going to make today are the arms and then the head. So you're going to switch to your 4mm hook if you are using the size 4 yarn, or your 5mm hook if you're using the plush yarn. And same thing on the arms. We're going to do the arms now, but same thing on the arms. You're going to start with a magic circle, but if that magic circle is too tricky, then you can do that slip knot and chain 2 and try that method. But we'll start with a magic circle here, and then you're going to put 6 single crochet stitches into the magic circle. Then you can pull that magic circle tight. And now for rounds 2 through 11, all we're going to do is we're going to put a single crochet stitch in each stitch around. So this is 10 rounds of 6 stitches, so you're going to do 60 stitches total. So like I said, I don't like to stop after each round. I will just count all the way up to 60. So you can do it how you like, but for me, I just go ahead and keep counting all the way up to 60. So I'll do that now. All right, once you get to 60, then you can stop. If you tend to crochet pretty tightly, then you may want to add 1 or 2 more rounds to your arm. The reason being, if you crochet tightly, then your arms are probably going to turn out a little bit shorter. So depending on your preference, I've made them so that they're not too long on the body. So it just depends on your preference. If you want them to be a little bit longer, or if you know that you crochet very tightly, then I would go ahead and add 1 or 2 more rounds. But you know, like I said, it's up to you. So once you get to the number of rounds that you'd like, then we're going to use that same technique that we used on the ears, where we just pinch the top of the arm together, and we're going to crochet through both sides in order to close off the arm. So just like the ears, the arms will not be stuffed. I think they lay better if they're not stuffed. But you could put a little bit of stuffing at the end if you wanted to. I just don't really find it necessary. So in order to close them off, you're going to pinch those sides together, and we still have 6 stitches in this round. So we're going to put 3 single crochet stitches across the top of the arms. And then you can cut your yarn and you can tie that off. On the arms, you really don't need very much yarn. The arms are crocheted into the body, so you won't need to sew. I still like to leave a little bit of a tail just because it's what I'm used to, but you really don't have to, because we're going to crochet these into the body. So now you have one arm. You're going to go and make a second arm, and then we will move on to the head portion. Okay, so now we have both of our ears done, both of our arms done. We're going to move on to making the head. So if you are working with size 4 yarn, then you're going to use your 4mm hook. If you're working with a bulkier yarn, then you're going to use your 5mm hook. So we are going to start with that same magic circle, or the slip knot and chain 2. And to start the head, we're going to put 6 single crochet stitches into the magic circle, just like we've started with all the other parts. Then we'll pull that tight. All right, and now just like we did with the ears, we're going to put 2 single crochet stitches into each of those stitches around. So we will make our round go from a round of 6 to a round of 12. So I'm going to put 2 single crochet stitches into the same stitch, and I will do that all the way around. All right, so round 2 will end with 12 stitches. And then in round 3, we're going to do an increase stitch and then a single crochet. And we'll repeat that all the way around. So in the first stitch, I'm going to put 2 single crochet stitches. And then in the next stitch, I'm going to put just 1. And we'll do that 6 times around. So that will make our round go from a round of 12 stitches to a round of 18. So you can see by adding those increases, it helps our circle get larger. One thing to note, if you crochet pretty loosely, then you may want to size down a little bit with your hook size on the head. We will be stuffing the head, and so you want to make sure that your stitches are pretty tight together. You don't want them to be super loose for the stuffing to show through. So if you're having problems with holes in your stitches, then you can go down a hook size. All right, so that's the end of round 3. In round 4, we're going to increase and then do a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So similar pattern to round 3, we're just going to do an extra single crochet stitch. And just like before, we are making our round increase from a round of 18 to a round of 24. All right, so we should end round 4 with 24 stitches. So now in round 5, this will be the last round of increases for us. And just like before, we're going to increase in the first stitch. So place 2 single crochet stitches into the first stitch, and then we're going to single crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. And we'll do that all the way around. Again, you can use stitch markers to mark the beginning and end of your round, or you could use a piece of string. I sometimes like to do that. I am so used to making these that I don't really use the stitch markers or the strings anymore, but it's a good way to keep track of where you're at. And I definitely do recommend it on the body portion, which we'll make tomorrow. Because then if anything gets off kilter with the bobbles, the count with the bobbles, then you can figure out kind of where you went wrong. All right, so then you should end this round with 30 stitches. And that should be the end of round 5. So I'm going to grab a piece of scrap yarn for this next part. So we're going to be doing 5 rounds of 30 single crochet stitches. So now we have the head to about the size that we want it to be, and so we need to make it go up into a head shape. So we're just going to be repeating the same thing for rounds 6 through 11. So it'll be 30 single crochet stitches, and you're going to do that for rounds 6 through 11. This is how, if I do use a stitch marker, this is how I like to do it. I just put a piece of string through the stitch, and then I can pull it out when I'm done. All right, so go all the way around, finish your rounds 6 through 11, and then we will continue on to the decreases to finish the head. Okay, so we've finished round 11. So you can see that just kind of elongated our head. We have sort of a bowl shape now. So to finish off the head, we're going to do decreases so that we can close it up. So just like we did before, we're going to decrease in the first stitch and then we'll put single crochet stitches into the next stitch. So for round 12, we're going to do a decrease stitch and then 3 single crochet stitches. And we're going to repeat this around, which will be 6 times around. So with these decreases, now we're going to go from a round of 30 stitches down to a round of 24 stitches. All right, now if you are going to use safety eyes on your bunny, or if you prefer to add the features while you still have access to the inside of the head, then you should pause here. The features are going to be shared as part of the assembly tomorrow, because I like to just add them at the very end, want to have everything all together. But if you want to use safety eyes, you have to add those obviously before you close up the head. So if you're planning on using them, then go ahead and stop here. If you're not and you're okay with just adding the features all at the end, then you can continue making the head. You can start stuffing here if you want to. Sometimes I'll start to stuff the top of the head, or you can wait until we get a couple more rounds of decreases in. So it's up to you. I'm not going to stuff right now because then I just have to try and keep the stuffing out of the way. So in the next round, we're going to go from 24 stitches to 18 stitches. So we're going to do that decrease stitch, and then we'll single crochet into the next 2 stitches. And we're going to continue this around, and that'll be 6 times total. We'll repeat that 6 times total. If you want to add a rattle insert, then you can go ahead and add that as you're adding in the stuffing. I'm not going to add one in this time, but I do really like to put them in the little cotton buddies. All right, so now we are down to 18 stitches, and you can start putting a little bit of stuffing in here, or like I said, if you want to use a rattle, then you can go ahead and start putting that in. For the rattles, I like to put a little bit of stuffing in and then put the rattle in the middle, just so that it doesn't end up like on the edge of the head. And when I stuff, I always like to put a bunch of it in and then create a hole in the center and push it out from there. That method has helped me get the most evenly spaced, I guess, stuffing. You know, sometimes you push stuffing in there and it looks really wonky. So for me, what has worked is just putting in a bunch of stuffing and then pushing it out from the middle out to the sides. And then I can go and I can add more in as I need to. Stuffing can be kind of an art form, I think, and it can really make or break the look of your finished product. So if you feel like your stuffing is looking funny, it's okay to pull it out and try again. All right, so we're going to continue decreasing here. In the next round, we're going to decrease down to 12 stitches. So we're going to do a decrease, and then we'll do 1 single crochet, and we'll continue that around so that we can finish the round with 12 stitches. And you're going to want to keep adding stuffing as you work towards the close. So you can see I had stuffing in before, but now that I've pulled it a little bit tighter, I can fit even some more stuffing in there. So I would not, you want to try not to overstuff because the head will look really big, and also because your stitches might start to pull apart a little bit. So you want to make sure that you're not overstuffing, but do make sure that you have enough stuffing that your head is not real limp and floppy. And you can see I left this in. If you use a string as a stitch marker, then you can just pull it out when you're finished with it. So that's why I like just using strings. I don't have to move them as I'm working around, and then I can just pull them out at the end, which works pretty well for me. All right, so if you want to do a rattle, this is probably your last chance, because once we do our next round of decreases, it's not going to, it won't fit in there. Because now in this last round, we're going to go from 12 stitches down to 6 stitches. So we are going to decrease in each stitch around. So we'll do a decrease stitch, and then another one, and we're going to do a total of 6 decrease stitches. All right, then you can slip stitch and cut your yarn. Leave a little bit of a tail. We're going to use the tail to cinch that final little hole closed, but you can tie that off if you want to. I do like to try and push a little bit more stuffing into that teeny tiny hole. So if you feel like you don't have enough stuffing, and you can see I'm just using the end of my crochet hook, but if you feel like you don't have enough stuffing, then you can kind of fill up the bottom of the head by using your hook to push the stuffing in there. Again, make sure that you're pushing it around evenly so that it's not getting super overstuffed in one spot. I'm gonna put a tiny bit more. So I just kind of turn it around as I'm stuffing so that it goes in there evenly. And then once you're done, you can kind of give it a few squeezes to get it how you like. All right, so the last thing that we need to do is sew the hole on the bottom of our head. So you're going to need a embroidery needle. Thread your needle. And then you're going to go through the front loop of the stitches. I like to go through the front loop and then a stitch next to it, just to help pull it together a little bit without having a lot of holes. But you'll just weave in and out of those front loops on the remaining stitches. And then once you pull your yarn tight, then it will close that hole. The bottom of the head is going to attach to the body, so if it's not perfect looking, it's okay. You're going to sew the body to it anyways. All right, so you can see once you pull that tight, it's going to close that hole right up. So then you can tie your end, and I just tie it right there around a stitch. And then you can weave that right into the head. I like to go back and forth a couple times, especially with plush yarn or bulky yarn. I feel like it's easier for the ends to come out for some reason, or maybe it just happens to me more often. But so I'll go back and forth through the stitches a few times. And then you can just snip that end. And that's that. So to finish part 1, you've got your ears, you've got your 2 arms, and you've got your head. So now you can just set those aside, and tomorrow we will make the body, and then we'll attach all these pieces together. Thanks for joining. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email or reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook. Those are the easiest ways to reach me. I'm going to try and do a live session on Sunday for any questions that anyone comes up with. So if you have a question, please feel free to submit it, and then I'll go live hopefully on Sunday, and I will answer all your questions. Thanks so much.